which his son Michael runs. He also owns another business, a consulting firm, which his wife runs. Huh, okay. So what's a great view? He was also president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here in Colorado. And in 2008 to 2014, he was a small business administration service. It was a small business administration. Is it chairman? Director for Colorado. In 2018, he also was a governor candidate for Colorado. Now, I told the Tea Party this about a week and a half ago, the Royal Orange Tea Party. I said, I'm not going to go out on a limb here, but I'm really pretty sure Ray Lopez would have made a better governor than Jared Polis. Yeah. I'm going to introduce Ray Lopez.
Well, you know what? It's great to be here. You know, and you just heard some very interesting numbers as to what's going on. You know, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what I've seen happen here in Colorado since the election, where we're going. You know what? Some of you have remembered I carried this throughout my campaign, right? Yes. It's the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to read you something, and then inside the first flap. This is George Washington saying this. The power under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing. And whenever it is executed contrary to that interest, or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. So even back then, there was some discussion about what are we going to do if we elect someone that doesn't represent the wishes of the community. And even back then they talked about recalling. You know, and I want to thank Tom for his volunteering. You know, it's a lot of hard work to run a campaign across the state, I can tell you that. You know, but at the end of the day, when you're able to put your hand on the pulse of rural Colorado and really feel what the people are all feeling and thinking, and you can connect with them, all of a sudden it's not a job, it's not work, it's a mission. You know, it's a mission and it's a cause, and you know, like as it was said by Rick, I served in the military. And so for me, you know, when you serve your country, you put yourself aside and you focus on what's in the best interest for not only your state, but your country as well. And that is why when I did not make it past the primary, I committed that I would help Walker Stapleton to the best of my ability to get him elected. And I did that. Okay? And I'm still involved. You notice I haven't gone anywhere. And I'm not going to go anywhere. You know, I've had so many friends tell me, Greg, we're leaving because it's changing so fast. And I say, you know, we can't leave. We got to stand and fight. You know, because if we don't fight here in Colorado, we're going to lose it. And some of you may remember some of the campaign that I was talk about what would happen to Colorado if we had a Democrat elected. And if you don't recall, let me remind you, I used to inform everybody, you know what? We are going to become the ugly twin sister of California if we elect a Democrat into the governor's office. And folks, that is happening as we speak. You just have to look, and I'm going to run through some of the things that have happened here in Colorado that you would swear you're living in California. You know, we talked earlier today about the power of one. You know, I'm a firm believer in that concept. And there is a Republican here in Colorado by the name of Fred Holden. He is in Jefferson County. And he's got this book that he wrote about 18 years ago. And I would encourage you to look at it, read it, but it's about, the title of it is The Total Power of One in America. And it talks about what you as an individual can do to change the trajectory of where we're going. Look, folks, it's about all of us, not just some of us. You know, and we need to rise up to make sure that we have our voices heard. I'm going to give you a number, 233. Who can tell me what's significant about the number 233? Anyone? Nope.
Is that the number of electors who have voted in favor of this group together?
Nope. Let me help you. 233 days ago, it was November 6th. That is when we got our butts kicked at the ballot box. And the reason I know it's 233 days ago is because I am never going to forget that day. I'm never going to forget what happened. You know, we started to lose our great state that very evening. And that's why we need to remember that day and make sure that we don't forget what it feels like. What it feels like to see our state go south on us. You know, like I told you, I'm wondering, you know, we have the national popular vote, right? That they passed. Everybody familiar with that? All right, so I'm not going to explain it. But I do believe that, I'm wondering, you tell me, should the state of Colorado have an electoral college where every county has the opportunity to make sure that their voice is heard in any state election? Right? Because you've heard it before. When I was running for governor, I can't tell you how many times they would tell me, Greg, focus on 10 counties. You focus on 10 counties, you should be able to get elected. And I used to remind them, but there are 64. There are 64 counties, not 10. And you probably know all 10, right? Arapahoe, Denver, Jefferson, Douglas, Boulder, Arvada, Adams County, Larimer, you know? And when you look at the results of a statewide election, whoever wins those counties traditionally gets elected. You know, so we need to stop that specific initiative. So how do we stop Colorado from becoming California? Well, it starts right here tonight. It starts right here tonight with all of us. Okay, we need to take a solemn vow that we are not going to sit and watch our state go down the toilet, because we have a lot of people that are moving to our state that they believe they know what's in our best interest. We can't. I urge you to remember the power of one, what you can do, and what we need to stop. Did you know that California was one of the first states that adopted the national popular vote? Did you know that? Think about that. How long did it take for our Senate and our House to approve that? Not very long. You know, and I knew it was going to get bad. I just didn't realize it was going to get this bad so fast. 5 months. They're in the legislature. 5 months. January through May. And in 5 months, they've been able to attack, like Tom said, every single value that we stand for. Our conservative values, they want to erase them from our family. They want to erase them from the minds of our children. I recently saw a picture that really hit me in the gut. Did you know that this is Pride Month? You guys familiar with Pride Month?
Yeah.
One of my supporters sent me a picture and said, Greg, what do you think of this? And on the capital of Colorado, there is a flag of all the rainbow colors, and the governor proudly standing underneath it.
And the American flag is gone, right?
Yep. Now I wonder if he would hang a Christian flag, or a flag that doesn't go along his values. But remember this, folks, elections are about values and beliefs. And we're in a war. The Democrats have taken our elections to a war level. You know, they don't care what they say. They don't care how they get there. They don't care if they're lying to you. They just want to get elected. I'm going to tell you this. If they want a war, it's time we give it to them. It's time we stand tall. Stop being afraid to be bold and courageous in our beliefs and our values. You know, how do we do this again? We elect and identify candidates that are strong Christians, that are not afraid to talk about how God is important in our society and how God made America the greatest country in the world. And the reason we're running all these issues is because too many of us, have abandoned Him. We have turned our backs on our Lord, and this is what's happening. You know, in that book that I was talking to you about, it talks about the cycle of a civilization. Let me share that with you. It starts with slavery. And then there's a spiritual awakening. And then there's strong courage. And then there's abundance. And then there's complacency. And then there's apathy. And we go back to slavery. That's the cycle of a civilization. And folks, I'm going to tell you, we're teetering right then and there. Now, too many of us aren't voting. 1.3 million people chose not to vote. We got to change that. We just have to change it. You know, I talked to you about, here's another bill, right? Sex education bill. Think about that. You know, I was a former mayor, and I used to sit in public hearing meetings for hours. But I can tell you this, never during a public meeting did I ever look at my cell phone. Never in a public meeting did I ever look at my computer. I listened to everyone, what they had to say. And you know why? They had 2 minutes. 2 minutes. When an elected official doesn't have the courtesy and respect to give one of the voters 2 minutes to listen to them, that says a lot. You know, and they were there till 12 o'clock in the morning. And I went to testify, and I looked at the faces after an hour, and I could tell it didn't matter what anybody said. Didn't matter what they brought forth. They were going to vote for it. You know that there was a Catholic priest that testified, and they were asked about their sexual preference in public. It was shameful. It really was. But that is the sentiment that we have there. Now here's another bill that you folks may not know of. House Bill 1192. How many of you have heard of that bill? That bill now requires a new subject to be taught in high school. And you must take this class. It's a requirement for graduation. It's a civics class. And now all of our children are going to learn the so-called contributions that have been made by transgender individuals, by gay individuals, by lesbian individuals. All those individuals, now they must take a civic class to learn all their contributions. On top of the sex education.
It's going to be a very short class.
We can only hope. Right? Now think about it. Where do you think the sex educational bill comes from? California. Where do you think the civic class is coming from? California. You know, the other bill, the red flag bill. Right? Where's that coming from?
California and New York.
California and New York. You know, if you just do a little research, you'll figure it out that, you know what, the oil and gas industry. Now here's really what, as a public servant, and Tom touched on this, the people voted. The state of Colorado said no. You need to leave the oil and gas industry alone. We support them. Yet, the legislature decided that they know best. They know what needs to happen, right? And so they allowed local jurisdictions to oversee the oil and gas industry within their boundaries. I can tell you there is no county, there is no city that has any experts to know what is safe and what is not safe as it pertains to oil and gas operations. And so the safest thing that they can do, because remember this, most elected officials do not want to take the risk of making the wrong decision. So what do you think they're going to do? Moratoriums. You know, we're going to study this. It's happening. You know, they're going to kill our oil and gas industry, and they're going to kill a huge portion of our economy. A lot of jobs going away. Did you know that they passed House Bill 1124? Basically, they've made us a sanctuary state. Where did you hear that from? California. House Bill 1124 says no state, federal, local law enforcement officer can provide any information to the federal government about someone being illegal. Across the board. That's a sanctuary state. And you heard me when I was running for governor, I said, you know what? I believe in the Constitution. I believe that this gives us rights and our liberties. But no one gets extra rights or extra liberties. You know what? You heard me say this too. We have to unite. It's division. I don't get it. You know, Polis should not be the governor of Colorado.
He lied.
He shouldn't.
He lied.
And yet, we have two groups that seem to want to have conflict over stating that they have the same objective. I'm going to tell you, I've spoken to both groups. And I'm going to tell you that what Tom says is probably more true than not. Okay? I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, we will come together. Because we know that united we will win. But divided, we will lose or we will stumble. And the Democrats and the liberals are counting on that. That's been our track record. That's been what they know us for. They'll be shocked if we can unite. They wouldn't know what to do with the power that we have harnessed, that we need to awaken. You know, I've been talking to some pastors and churches, and they're ready. They tell me they're ready. You know, they're ready to start encouraging their parishioners to get involved in voting. And more importantly, to look at their personal values and look for candidates that share in their values. But we first have to find those candidates. And they're out there, folks. They're out there. You know, and I will tell you, what, the grassroots is the most important component of any election. You know, you heard heard today that, you know, I came in third in the primary election. Walker Stapleton came in first. Victor Mitchell came in second. I came in third. And Doug Robinson came in fourth. Anybody want to guess? And I got 65,032 votes in the primary. Anybody want to guess how much money I spent throughout my entire campaign? And Wendy, you can't say anything because you were the campaign manager. Take a guess. Throw a number out there.
65,000.
How much?
65,000.
Give that man an award because I spent $60,000. 60. Walker Stapleton spent close to $8 million. Victor Mitchell spent close to $3 million. It's not about the money. It's about the message. It's about being able to connect. And we can do it, folks. You know, I'm working with the state party to try to make sure that they understand that we must embrace the Hispanic community. We must. It's not an option for us. Let me tell you why. Because they're conservatives. They're Republicans. They just don't know it. I'm telling you, they don't know it. Because I've spoken to some. You know, I used to go to the Democratic gubernatorial debates. Why? Because we were invited. The Republican candidates were invited. I would be the only one to show up. Now, I went for two reasons. One, I wanted to see who was going to be the best candidate of the Democratic Party. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't Jared Polis. He did buy the campaign. Okay? The other reason I went is because I did not want anybody to stand up and say, we invited the Republican candidates, none of them showed up, and that means they don't care anything about it. So I'd go. And I'd be the only one that would stand up and say, you know, the only difference, the big difference between me and all these people is I'm a Republican. And you could have seen the faces of these individuals. They were in shock. And let me tell you why. I come down off stage, and here's the thing. I never got booed. I never got heckled. I never got mistreated. Even after a while, the candidates forgot that I was a Republican. Because they would say, you know what, I agree with Greg. I think he makes a good point. You know, I'd come down, and mostly Hispanic voters or attendees would come up to me and say, Greg, how can you be a Republican? You don't even look like one. Now I tell me, well, I don't know what a Republican is supposed to look like. But let me ask you a couple of questions. I said, do you believe in abortion? They say, no. I said, do you believe that if you work hard, you should be able to keep most of your money? I said, yes. I said, do you believe the government should stay out of your life? And they would say, yes. I would say, you better be careful, because you're starting to sound like a Republican. They don't know. They haven't been told the other side of the equation. Why? Because we don't show up. We don't go to the unions. I went and talked to the unions. It was supposed to be a 15-minute conversation. They made me wait 20 minutes. You know why? They were taking a bet I wouldn't show up. And when I did sit down, after 2 hours with them, their last comment to me is, you know what? We like what you have to say. We're going to watch how far you go. But it clearly knows that because you are a small business owner, because you were the former director of the United States Small Business Administration, and you dealt with unions, you understand some of the challenges that we're facing. But let me tell you, it wasn't a very non-confrontational conversation, because I would call them out. I would say, you union folks sometimes defend your employees knowing that they violated every single rule in the book. But you feel because you're a union, you got to stand tall and defend them. said, I've been there. They said, no, you're right, Greg. We do that. You know, we need to go to the Hispanic community, we need to go to the black community, we need to go every place that people will not expect us to be there. Because that's going to rattle their cages. That's going to ask them, what are you doing here? And our answer is going to be, we're here to listen. We're here because we care. We're here because we want to know, what are you thinking? One thing I've learned about, you know, as you go out, as I went out there across the state, is, you know what, you never try to convince anybody of anything. You listen to them. And if they ask you a question, you answer it. Honestly and boldly. But you plant seeds. You plant seeds and you let them germinate. I'm going to tell you this, and ask yourself if this is a true statement. If I tell you something, you may doubt it because it's coming from me. But if I get you to say it, you're going to believe it because it came from you. We plant seeds. You know, the Democratic Party is very aggressive. They never stop. You know, if you think about it, we take a little hiatus after the election. These folks don't. They're moving. You know, we're way behind. How did we lose?
They lied.
They lied?
The Lord is only
But
people actually believe them.
Yeah.
because we didn't give them the alternative. We didn't challenge what they were saying. Right? We never challenged it. But here's the thing. They outworked us. They outsmarted us. They outspent us. But more importantly, they connected and knocked on doors more than we did. Harvesting ballots. You guys heard that, right?
But they fake ballots.
I didn't know that they were doing that. I didn't even know it was legal. We can do up to 20. Right? So we got to get smarter at what we do. That's what I'm saying. You know? And we can do this, folks. I truly believe we can do this. You know, we need to make sure that we sign every petition that comes across that looks to protect our great state. You need to sign that national popular vote petition and put it on the ballot. You need to sign a recall petition because here's the question. It is a vote of confidence. Do you want Governor Polis or not? That's the question. Is that simple? Yes or no?
No.
You know? No. And we got to make sure that we convince people, hey, just sign the petition. Sign it. You know what? At the end of the day, we all get to decide again whether we're going to cast the same vote or a different vote. But we got to get on the ballot because I don't know what Colorado's going to look like in 3 more years Polis is governor. You know, Wendy shared an article with me today, and I'm going to close with this, but this is really important for you. You know, Colorado is now facing a homeless crisis. Right? Where do you think it started? California. The mayor of Los Angeles has started a new program. He's got $1 million.
To send people to Colorado.
Dude, listen to this. They're doing testing to see if there are any homeowners out there that are willing to build a small unit in the backyard for a homeless person, and in exchange they will get a stipend of anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 if they do that.
You can only hope they start in Beverly Hills.
Now think about that.
Governor's mansion.
And if it works, if there's a movement to support that, right now it's voluntary, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, it'll be a law.
And we have a very giving society. We
Yep.
want to help people. And so they're going to come from that angle.
Well, but here's the thing, right? We have to be compassionate.
Yes, we got to help
We have to be
neighbors.
compassionate. We have to let them know that, you know what? We need to understand, first of all, why is it that you're having a difficult time, you know, finding either work, if it's mental health, whatever time where the churches were the ones that were helping, not the government, right? It was the churches that was reaching out in their community, right? To make sure that not only were they feeling that they really cared about them, but they also understood that it was the passion and compassion of someone that believed in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's where that goodwill was coming from. It wasn't coming from the taxpayers' dollars, you know. But these are the things we're facing, folks. You know, I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised that someday in the future, you might see my name again. Yeah. Now, like Tom, I didn't get into this for a resume builder. You know, I got into it because I want to fight for the right reasons for Colorado. You know, I come from humble beginnings. I'm not a rich man by any stretch of the imagination. I don't come from higher education. You know, I don't come from great wealth. I do come from a great God. That's right. No, we don't. That's right. That is so true. Can everybody read this hat? Yep. Okay. Make Colorado, Colorado again. That's what we need to do.
Now, I have spent some time recently in Arkansas Valley, going around, and one of the things that I wondered about here is that I'm just really kind of listening to people and hearing the word of that, and just really hearing. And I'm wondering if candidates that are in this room tonight that might be running for something, if that might be a key. It's just, I mean, I don't care where you go. Somebody has something on their heart and they're dying to give it to you. And once they throw up on you and really give it to you, well, there's things in that I brought back and I know you work down there.
Right.
And I'm going to go back down and I'm going to help them.
Yep.
But I'm just wondering if you have any wisdom along those lines to give out to any candidate that might be here.
You know, that's it, right there. If you're going to be a public servant, think about that. You're not going to be an elected official. You're not going to be a politician. It's a public servant. You are to serve the community. The best way for you to serve is to go out there and be with them. Talk to them. Right? Listen to them. They recognize you're not going to be able to solve their problem. They know that. They know you can't pass legislation that specifically addresses their concern. What they do know is that, you know what, they want to vote for somebody that cares enough to listen. You know, and if you are successful in passing legislation that might assist them, they're extremely grateful because they believe that they had a little bit to do with that. But if you don't go out there and listen to them, you know, it's easy, right? Even the Bible says, right? It's easy for us to pray for people that we don't like us. We're supposed to pray for our enemies, right? We're supposed to pray for all of them. So if you're running for office, you know what? And don't take it personally. I can't tell you how many times people would say, "What party are you?" And I would say, "Well, let me first talk to you." No, I want to know what party you are. Okay, I'm a Republican. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, I'll go on to the next table. You know, because you can't spend hours trying to convince one voter. If anything, they'll know that you respect them, right? Like I told you, I used to go to Democratic debates. After a while, they were expecting me. You know, Greg, they'd say, "Greg, you know, I told my husband to come to listen to you, but I want you to know we're never going to vote for you, but we really love what you have to say." Like, okay, fine by me. Right?
Congress alone. And then the Senate was a large number too. So how many in Colorado?
You know, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, you got cities, you got counties,
Right.
you know, you got some state house people. All I can tell you is that we got to win them all, and then some. Yeah, if we're going to change it.
Is it printed information somewhere?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, you can go to Secretary of State's office if you want to look at state elected officials, or go to your county, right? Go to your local jurisdiction. Right now, people are gearing up because the election is in November.
And it's a big election, that's a lot of people.
Right. And let me tell you about the recall real quick, folks. Know this. Think about this for a minute. Tom said that Polis is the first open gay governor in the country.
Oh, that's a big
Okay? We gather enough signatures to put the question on the ballot, it will become a national issue. Colorado will all of a sudden be a state that everybody is looking at. And they're going to want to see, can Colorado pull this off? Because if Colorado can do it, then maybe we can do it somewhere else. Right? So don't think for a minute that, you know what, if we sign this and we get it on the ballot, what's it going to look like? And it's a short cycle. We're talking 90 days. So if you get tired of hearing a lot of campaign issues, that campaign schedule gets shrunk to about 25 days. You know? But just think about it. We will send a huge message that in Colorado, we fight for what we believe in. And we fight enough to put it back on the ballot.
One last thing is that it's breaking my heart right now because we need to get this man out of office. I don't care, we just need to take it down. And there's these two factions right now, and I'm wondering what the answer is and how we can get a lay down, we can join forces and get this done, because everybody in this room wants to get it done. And the conflict isn't going to get us anywhere except looking at him flying the flags that we didn't even ask to have flown.
I know.
And so, do you have any suggestions?
I don't. I mean, I wish I had the magic answer. I really do. And I don't. You know, and I do know that a lot of very high respected Republicans have made an effort to talk, right? To see what can we do. And I do know that, you know what, for whatever reason, it's just not happening.
No, it's political correctness. That's what's ruined everything. Do you know how many people voted for Barack Obama for no other reason
That he was the first
than he was a
one.
black guy?
He was the first one.
And I got to tell you, this Florida kid from South Bend, Indiana, the only reason anybody even attempts to pronounce his name is because he's gay.
Look, folks, you know what? We have a battle. We're in a war. I don't want you to forget that. If you care for this state, if you care for your kids, if you care for the future of what Colorado is going to be and what America is going to be, you must get up and be involved. And that means making 1 or 2 phone calls a week. You know, doesn't mean you got to work for hours. Because you've never done anything before, the smallest of things will create some big results. Now, again, it's always a pleasure to come out here. Thank you very much. Love you.
So we're going to dismiss here in a minute, so just relax, everybody can hear. For those of you who come regularly, remember that next month and the following month, we are not going to have a meeting, so we're going to have to postpone your history lesson on slavery. It's important to remember what Tom said. 65% of your fellow Coloradans did not vote. It's also important to remember that if the church stood up, this would be a done deal that fast. It's important for you to reach out to everyone you know. If you haven't paid your bill, because they are so overwhelmed, I'm going to ask you again. And then we're going to close. There's a new organization here that I'm going to have Ann talk to you for just a minute about, so that you're aware of it. You can probably do them up there, Ann.
Okay. You can do this.
Belt it out.
No, I'm okay. You can't hear me? You want me to get the microphone? I wanted to let you know that Timmy, president of the Royal Gorge Republican Women, has been talking to several women in Custer County. And we met and got an initial group going, the Republican Women of Custer County. If you are interested in joining us and becoming a part of this very active, dynamic group of women, men can be associate members. We have a sign-up list, and we'll let you know when our next meeting is going to be. It's just in the new baby stages.
It's been an honor. It's been a gift to be able to come to this valley. And you guys have got so much going for you. All about what Greg said tonight. All about what Tom gave you. We've got to join forces. And I will tell you, the Republican Women of Custer County can play a big part in your Central Committee. And together, nothing can beat us. And thank you again. And congratulations, Ann. Congratulations. Get ready.
Don't have to leave. You can stick around, you can talk to Tom, you can talk to Greg. Remember to donate to Tom's cause. It's critical. And when Greg's on the ballot, vote for him.
We
Hey, if I can add one thing about, I just something on this slide that I feel like is kind of an important number. 1.386 million eligible voters did not vote, but you know what a funny thing I learned about a week and a half ago from the Colorado GOP? 400,000 white male registered Republicans did not cast the vote. White male registered Republicans didn't cast the vote. Do the math. 1.08 at 400,000 of that. Stapleton wins by about 130,000 votes. Why didn't they vote? I don't think we covered that, but just that's a fun fact to throw out to your friends. 400,000 registered Republican white males did not cast the vote in 2018. So yeah, come up and grab a yard sign, and I also have a